Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, and I can't tell you how happy I am to have all of us together, especially our children who are our future, who are here with us on this holy day as we start the new year. I want to say a few words to all of us this morning, and I'm speaking to myself as well, about how it is that we handle our fears. We all have fears. Sometimes we admit them, sometimes we don't admit them, sometimes we try to cover them up, sometimes we try to ignore them. We all have fears. There's a well-known author by the name of Roxane Gay, and she has written extensively about her life experiences, some of which are traumatic and very painful. And someone once said to her, "You must be incredibly brave to write about all of these difficult things." And here is what she said: "You do not have to be brave when you are writing. You need to acknowledge that you are terrified and do it anyway." So often we tell each other not to worry. We tell it to each other at every phase of our lives. Don't worry, we say to children who are starting kindergarten. You'll be fine. Don't worry, we say as we drop our children off in college for the first day. You'll be fine. Don't worry, we say to the couple before they're about to stand under the chuppah together. You will be fine. Don't worry, we say to the individual who buried a life partner. We say this during Shiva. We say, don't worry, you'll be fine. And the truth is that everybody will probably be fine, more or less, eventually. But why do we say don't worry when the fear is real, when the fear is palpable, and when, frankly, our fear is a sign that we are human, that we are living with intensity and with sensitivity? Sometimes we should not go ahead and do that which we are afraid of. There's good reason to hold back, but often we need to learn how to move forward with our fears. Roughly 20 years ago, when I fully understood that I was going to be the new rabbi of Temple Israel of Great Neck, I was sitting in my office in West Hempstead and the phone rang. And it was somebody who didn't call me all the time, Professor Ismar Shorsh, then the chancellor of the Jewish Theological Seminary. And he congratulated me on receiving this appointment. And he said to me, "How are you feeling about it?" And I said, "I'm excited, but I'm also afraid." And he said to me, and I will never forget his exact words, he said, "Your fear speaks well of you." What he meant by that, I believe, is that my fear suggested that I had a sense of the immensity of the role that I was stepping into. If I didn't have any fear, he would have worried if I was conscious. He would have worried if I fully appreciated what it was that I was facing. But he said to me, not "don't be afraid." He said to me, "Do it anyway. Because the Jewish people need you to step into that role." I am here roughly 20 years later because somebody gave me the permission to acknowledge that I was afraid and the encouragement to move forward anyway. And I want to pay that forward to all of us on the first day of the new year. We may be afraid of all kinds of situations. We're afraid to enter into a new relationship. We're afraid to go to a job interview. We are afraid of health issues, of emotional issues. We're afraid that somebody is going to reject us or speak ill of us. We need to learn how to move forward anyway. The Jewish people have always understood what it means to move forward, even if we are afraid. You go back to Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu. God said to him, go speak to Pharaoh. And he said, Mi ani, who am I, ki elech el paro, to go to Pharaoh? I can barely speak. Centuries later, when Esther realized that she had to enter into the inner sanctum to speak to the king and to plead on behalf of her people, she said, fast for me. I'm afraid. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the king will do. Centuries after that, Judea was under siege by the Romans, and a very prescient and wise individual, Yochanan ben Zakkai, got into a coffin, pretended that he was dead, got smuggled outside of Jerusalem, and asked when he arrived at his destination for a yeshiva, a house of learning, to be built so that the Jewish people could carry on. Do you think he was a little bit afraid? I suspect that he was. And I am looking at a beautiful congregation of people, many of whom left Europe, left Iraq, left Iran, not knowing what the future held, certainly afraid of what it meant to try to preserve oneself and to take a chance in a new country and to learn a new language. The fear is real. We don't have to deny it. But can we find the capacity to move forward anyway, to move forward along with our fears? We are recognizing here in this country a rise in anti-Semitism. It has been amply cataloged by the ADL and by other organizations. Yes, we have to take security measures. Yes, we each have to make our own decisions about what we do and how we present ourselves. But we need to move forward anyway. We need to move forward and say, Am Yisrael Chai, our people continue to live and to thrive. We will gather here in our houses of worship. We will welcome Shabbat at Stepping Stone Park, as we did several times during the summer. We will march proudly up Fifth Avenue singing Am Yisrael Chai at the Celebrate Israel parade. We have learned to move forward despite our fears, with our fears, sometimes even energized by our fears. And fear affects our personal lives. Without getting too personal, I will share with my beloved congregation that at several important times in my life, I've been afraid. When I was thinking about proposing to Deanna, I was sitting with my father, and I said to him, I'm afraid. I love her. I know that she's the right person for me, but do I really understand commitments? Do I really understand what love is about? Our income at the time was not terribly impressive. And my father, to his everlasting credit, may he rest in peace, he didn't say to me, don't be afraid. He said, don't be a fool. You won't do better. You'll do worse. That was an important thing for me as a young person to hear. Years after that, when we already had two delicious, delightful, and very rambunctious little boys, I wondered aloud to my mother about having a third child. I said, I'm a little bit afraid. I don't know. What's going to be? Can we handle 3 children? And she did not say to me, don't be afraid. What she said to me was, if you want to have a child, you have a child. Go ahead. Each child, I remember this, each child comes with his own mazal. Each child brings their own good fortune. If you want to have this child, you go ahead and have the child. And we did, and thank God. I say to each of us, there are so many times that we are afraid. It doesn't make us bad people, it makes us thoughtful people. And the question is, ultimately, should we move forward or should we not? If we shouldn't, maybe caution is the best road to take. But if we understand in our hearts, in our souls, that we need to move forward, then let us find the strength to move forward. I want to share a teaching from our tradition that has to do with this day, and then I will conclude. Today is known as the birthday of the world. We say Hayom Harat Olam. On this day, the world came into existence. There is a tradition that's recorded in Midrash that when God was thinking about creating humanity, there was an argument that broke out in the heavenly court. So Chesed, love, said to God, create humanity. Human beings will show great love. And Emet, truth, said, do not create humanity. They will lie again and again and again. And while they were arguing, Na'asa Adam, God created humanity. I understand this story to suggest that God had doubts, that maybe God was a little bit worried, a little bit concerned about creating this wild card, which humanity certainly is, and God decided to go ahead and create us anyway, and God sets a cosmic example for each of us to move forward with our fears. It is okay to be afraid. It is okay when you're 5 and you're starting kindergarten. It is okay when you're 18 and you got dropped off at college. It's okay when you're contemplating a life partnership. It is okay when you are facing life alone for the first time in a long time. But we shouldn't allow our fears to stop us from loving, from doing, from creating, from moving forward as a people, from moving forward as an individual. I began with one author. I'll end with another. Mark Twain wrote the following: courage is not the lack of fear, it is acting in spite of it. Courage is not the lack of fear, it is acting in spite of it. We walk through this painful and beautiful world. We live each moment of our painful yet beautiful lives despite our fears, with our fears. May we continue to move forward into this glorious new year, making the most of each moment. And we'll be a lot less afraid if we can do it together. Shana Tova, may it be a good and sweet and healthy year. Amen.